Hey, Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time.
Excited to be on here. For those of the listeners that were not on here, we attempted to record this before, but there was something going on with Zoom. We couldn't hear each other. It was all messed up, but we are persevering and ready to go this time. So I'm happy to be here.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's funny because even with, I don't know, I call them bugs. I always have to restart the computer and then it's like, boom, it works. So you gotta love technology, right? But yeah, let's dive right in. So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? I know you've mentioned a handful of times. By the way, I'm a new follower. So been following your content, love your content, love that you're a B2B marketer. And then turn to CEO, running your own agency. And I basically just want to know your story. And those who are new followers too, there's a great opportunity to even know what inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, totally. I feel like I always had it in me. And I think that the way that I saw the world, especially moving through high school to college to post college, was really interesting. It was the Shark Tank era, coming out of like that as a kid. So you get exposed to entrepreneurship. It was super easy at that time. Like I was 23 years old, went out, set up a Shopify store, private labeled things from Asia, built a brand, sold them on Shopify, Instagram ads, Amazon, at 23 years old. Right. And so there's something where like, I feel like you're just kind of like, you're just destined for it. You get into a situation where you can do it. And I just wanted to do it. I remember packing boxes to ship a product that I was made like $2 of margin on. And at 4 a.m, packing boxes, selling them because like I wanted to do that. I wanted a way out of the 9 to 5. I wanted the way out of the listening to the strategy decisions by executives that I didn't agree with. Right. There's a lot that was going on there, but you need to be able to get out. And then there's another thing that I think is really interesting, probably bring people a lot of value, is that I started playing with entrepreneurship at 23 years old. I started my company at 29. And so I knew that I was going to start my own company. And I was planning and trying to build skills both in my current job and on the side to build skills to be ready for that. And I thought that I was going to start a product-based company in my mid-30s. And it happened way sooner than I expected. And it was awesome. And so that it kind of brought me into a place where leaving a current job, I started looking for another job and I was like, forget this. Like none of these job descriptions get me excited. I don't want to go and do this again. Let's go and give this a shot.
Yeah.
And so we did. So I did.
So the motivation was probably more like, I don't want to build this other company. I want to kind of do my own and build something that's mine. But also I don't want to be kind of put into more of a, I don't know, I guess the template, right? Which is the 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. And then you mentioned executives.
It's even higher level than that for me. I feel like I remember being an employee at 24 years old and just looking at how the company was being run and how the decisions were being run and being like, I wouldn't do any of it this way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't treat employees this way. I wouldn't run the hiring process this way. I wouldn't be running sales this way. I wouldn't make this product. I would kill this. I would stop manufacturing this in this part of the world and manufacture it somewhere else. And just like intuitively felt all of those things. And so I always, nobody told me to do this. It was just always thinking as if I was the CEO. I think that really trains you. I think that's something that's super actionable for someone listening. If you want to start a company, spend 5 years in a company or multiple companies and just think like the CEO. And you'll see when they make decisions, whether or not you agree with it, whether or not you would do something different. Why? How do you root that in financial data or strategy data or competitive advantage stuff? And those were some of the things that people don't see on your resume of why I've been able to build and grow a company really quickly.
And did you used to also report directly to the CEO?
In some, we're talking about my entire my 9-year career before starting my company. And so at some companies, I reported into the CEO. At other companies, I reported into a head of marketing earlier in my career. And so I've done both.
Did you see a big difference in between the two?
I think it's more so about the stage of your career and the style of the company. What I find is that in some companies, just the entire thinking is old thinking. So whether you report to the CEO or you report to the VP of marketing, you report to some director of marketing, the entire company has homogenous old thinking. And so it doesn't matter who you report to in that case. In some more progressive companies, you'll find that someone along the chain, unlikely to be the CEO, but it could be the head of marketing, it could be a director or someone like that, has very progressive ideas that get shut down or suppressed inside of companies because the CEO doesn't get it, and that drives decisions downstream. But in my career, especially early on, it was a lot more the whole company has old thinking, which was great experience. I got to see all that. I got to figure out things that I would do differently. I think that I grew up more in manufacturing, medical device, more traditional marketing, which I think is a superpower for me because all of the strategy things that I learned, tech SaaS marketers don't have. And when you grow up in tech SaaS, I think that you focus way more on tactics, you focus way more on tech, you skip a lot of the fundamentals. And I think that can create some shortcomings in people's skill sets.
Nice. One of the things that I do like about the content that you post on LinkedIn is you mentioned the CEOs or the B2B companies, and I completely agree with this, is they don't really get marketing. They are too scared to make a decision. Well, I say that, and let me put that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but they're too scared to make a decision. And I'm curious to know why you think that is. I have thoughts. I think because their job is on the line. That's why they're scared to do organic, go all in on LinkedIn, or as you would call it, the dark funnel, because it's risky. And it's
from a CEO's perspective?
From a CEO's perspective. It's scared to do anything risky, but change is also difficult for a lot of them, I see too.
Yeah, I don't think that people see this as risky. I think that that the mindset of when you don't understand marketing or anything for that matter, you adopt things that everyone does. You adopt thinking that everyone has at a super high level with no details. It's a difference, and I think maybe this is a good way to explain it. It's the difference between knowing what to do and knowing why to do it. And so I feel like a lot of marketers, I interview hundreds of them. If I ask them something on strategy, they know how to regurgitate something that they've heard over time. And then you ask them why you should do it that way. Why don't we gate content anymore? Why don't we run lead gen? Why don't we do this? Nobody knows why. So they're just regurgitating what they've heard from somebody else. I'm starting to get a little bit off of your question here, but when we get back to the CEO, I think it's that they don't actually know. So they just adopt what other people have told them, what VCs told them, what their friend who's also a CEO told them, or whatever they hear at a conference or on podcasts or any other thing. And when you do that, you basically take mass market information, most likely, and then you make decisions off of it. And the mass market information is going to tell you to do things that are generally accepted, run email automation, spend money on Google or SEO, Google ads or SEO, cold call people. So it's not necessarily the fear that's like something's going to go wrong if we start executing on TikTok or we do a podcast. It's that they have the tunnel vision to not consider it because they haven't had someone tell them to do it. And the second piece that I always come back to, which is super fascinating, is that people that don't understand marketing look for proof that it's working immediately. And so when you need to look for proof that it's working immediately, you need to do stuff to create metrics that are not, it's working. It's not showing you that. It's giving you a false sense of security because you've assigned a metric to something that most likely a technology vendor has given you and you've adopted.
It's funny because I remember posting on LinkedIn something funny, kind of like forecasting ROI in marketing is to give your CEO a sense of security, but your CFO won't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can run I don't consider it marketing forecasting. I consider it sales forecasting for marketing source deals. And you can do that 100%. We do it. You know that you get deals into stage 3 and those deals are going to win at 30% over a certain time period. And you can tech nerds on this, listening to this podcast, like, oh, and you can do this and this and this and a million other things. Let's just keep it simple for a minute. You know, you're going to win 30% within a certain time period and you can project out what the revenue's created. So when we go into a company and for 6 quarters in a row, they win their sales qualified opportunities through the demo form at 31%. And then the next quarter, we drive $7 million in pipeline into that stage. And then we know that we're going to project out that the amount of revenue that got created that quarter is like $2.5 million in revenue in one quarter on $300,000 in spend. And then you start to be like, maybe we should spend more in marketing. And so I find that there's 2 reasons why marketing fails in companies, and they happen sequentially. So it's 1, you don't know how to do marketing. And the second piece is when you figure out how to do marketing, you don't know how to communicate to an executive team how it works. And so it breaks down in one of those 2 places.
And from your experience, Chris, talking directly to the CEO and changing their mindset, does it usually go well, or do you find some friction?
I spend almost no time trying to convince people of things they don't want to be convinced of. And so I think that anyone trying to convince a CEO of things that they don't believe right now are going to be met with quite a bit of resistance.
I agree.
So my experience working for 4 or 5 CEOs before I started my company and interacting with hundreds a month right now, especially at companies that are less than 1,000 employees, when I'm talking to the CEO, is that what you're saying is not going to change their mind. They have their way of thinking about it. And you can try and spend 2 years convincing somebody of something that is pretty fucking obvious. I don't know if we're allowed to swear on here, but I just had to. It's pretty obvious. Or you can go and look for somewhere else to work with people that already get all that stuff, and you can go and really accelerate your career. I posted on that today. I've felt that as a marketer. That is real. Where you spend an extra year in a company justifying your decisions, spending all your time proving whether or not something's working, debating things in boardrooms instead of actually doing marketing. And you just waste time, you waste your career, you miss opportunities.
Totally.
And so I'm really trying to help people understand, like, this advice is for strong, talented marketers. At the moment, we are in a candidate-driven market. And so if you're a strong, talented marketer, you got your pick of companies. Everyone's trying to hire good marketers, and there are not very many.
Yeah.
And so to the idea, like, it's 2011 and you have no experience and you got to go and compete with a bunch of other people for jobs. Like, if you're really good, I know for sure, because I interview all of these people, like, there are not that many people that are very good. So I just want to help people change perspectives. If you are in a company that doesn't get marketing and you think, oh, I can't go and get another job, that's too risky, no one's going to want to hire me, why would I do that? That's not the right mindset.
All right.
You might not, if you do have that mindset, you might not be ready to make a change. Maybe you need to build skills. Maybe you need to build confidence. Maybe you need to put together results so you have a story that you can tell. But generally, to get to the point, I highly encourage people that to not waste any time trying to convince a CEO that doesn't get marketing about how to get marketing, and instead to leave and go find someone that already does.
That's good advice. And I do like your LinkedIn post today because I resonated with that a lot. And I felt like, dang, I wasted a lot of time in my career working for a CEO who doesn't get B2B marketing, value my work. And I was like, there's plenty of companies that are innovating. I need to get out of here. So stuff, really good stuff to echo on. LinkedIn Sales Navigator. let's talk about that. I noticed you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What's your exact process if you feel comfortable talking about it?
There's zero process right now.
Okay, so you just need to delete it.
It's worth $80 a month just to have the gold badge on your profile or whatever. I use it for some like recruiting, searching. I use it a little, like I have it available. It's $80 a month. It's basically nothing. But we don't have like some type of active process. If we go back, I can tell people about a process that we used to do where we would make filters of target customers based on company firmographics and job titles. We would build that out and we would connect with 30 people a day. We stopped doing that because I get enough inbound connections. And secondly, you're connecting with a bunch of people that don't use the platform.
That's very true.
And so we've figured out a new way where I'm just using LinkedIn like a normal human, and I just connect with people in real time. And when you connect with people in real time, it's because they're active on the platform, they're engaging with your stuff, they're inside of the same audience. And so I find you create a much higher quality audience by doing that. Secondly, like all of the value in LinkedIn, and who knows how long this will last, but from the time that I've been building, the most important valuable thing on LinkedIn is getting people to engage with your content because they amplify it to everybody else.
Right.
And so connecting with 30 people a day that don't use LinkedIn gives you no benefit to that amplification. So that's why we've moved away from it.
So it's probably good to say there's no need to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
I think there are plenty of use cases to use it. I think that there's plenty of ways to use it. That's just how we choose to use it, right? There's people that are looking for alerts. They're looking to do business development. They're looking to send messages. They're looking to run filters. There's plenty of ways to use it. The way that we used it was to identify people to build connections with, and we've just stopped doing that.
Got you. Last question, and I really want to spend a good time on this because I've always wanted to bring on someone about content strategy, right? And since I've been starting to follow you, you've been pretty much preaching about that. If you don't have a good content strategy, you suck, basically. Like you can't just be posting behind. And yeah, exactly. So content strategy, what's your process for content strategy? Do you have like a theme, a topic that you touch on? Is it 100%? I'm just going to be considerate to the marketer and build their career in this way. Curious to know.
The strategy at this point. So I'm going to have to walk you through because this is a big journey. And it's the same thing that I've done with other buyer types other than marketers. First 6 months, really understand what those people are doing, produce a lot of different content, get put in places where you can answer questions, get feedback from the market, clarify your message. I think that most people move into content marketing and never make this step. The step of clarifying your business narrative is critical to having content marketing drive business results for you. Otherwise, you're just posting for likes and hope. So clarify the business narrative, which for us is that lead gen is completely broken. Companies waste a ton of money on generating leads that don't close, get obsessed with attribution, and completely miss all of the best opportunities in business and marketing right now. That's the narrative. And so now that we have the narrative, and I know that it's very clear, and I know that it resonates with the market, and I know that most of our target customers struggle with all of those points, now we start to actually go and move and accelerate on it. And then through the process of creating live events, hosting keynotes, answering a ton of questions, and looking at 100 comments, talking to a bunch of other people in the market, you start to get amplifying, accelerating innovation in what you're saying, right? That's where dark social came from. That's where dark funnel started. It's because as people keep asking you questions, you get forced to explain in even more detail and clarity what you mean, which helps you innovate on your message. And so the content creates a ton of business development for us. But at the moment, it's for two reasons. We have a clarified business narrative that the market needs. Whether people use I think another key point on this is that our content is valuable and helpful, whether or not people are a customer or not. I think that most companies create content to only drive people that are non-customers to become customers, as opposed to I'm going to create content for the market that the market gets value from, that people get better from, then which creates trust and credibility and affinity. And then people that resonate with our business narrative will consider us. And it's a completely different mindset, and it completely changes what type of content you make, where you put it out, how you measure it, how frequently you do it, how much time you spend writing the copy of a LinkedIn post. All of the details underneath it start with the mindset. And I want to be the person that drives ideas into businesses that transform how marketing happens in B2B companies. I've been a B2B marketer for my entire career.
Yeah.
Even before I started this company, I've been in those companies. I see how marketing gets treated. I see how stale and outdated the thinking is at the executive level. I see how obsessed with technology people are as a crutch to not do the fundamentals. So I'm over here talking about marketing fundamentals. I'm talking about that you don't need technology. I'm talking about that the way that you're thinking about things is stale, and here's why. And that's the goal. I'm trying to help B2B. I'm trying to empower B2B marketers to do way better marketing, because I do it and I know it's way more fun. It's way more effective. It's way more buyer centric. It's way more customer centric. And so I'm trying to help other people see the things that I see.
I love that. Other than LinkedIn, is there another platform that you guys are considering trying eventually in the future or near future?
I mean, our podcast on Apple and Spotify is absolutely crushing. So I don't know if you consider that a social. I consider that a content platform, not a social network, but crushing there. We've been dipping our toes further in the water on YouTube SEO, and
how's that going?
It's going okay. I would say that it's not a major focus or priority for us right now. We're dipping our toes in the water, but trying to figure it out a little bit. And then I believe that the next frontier for us is going to be TikTok and YouTube Shorts. And nice. So I'm getting going on that pretty soon. Testing organic, really figuring that stuff out, because it's coming. People hear me saying TikTok and B2B.
It's coming.
It's someone would say that it's here, right?
Yeah,
it's not coming, it's here. And so those are the things that we have on the radar.
Nice. Okay, that wasn't my last question. I lied. Do have my last question is, do you have any advice or tips for B2B marketing professionals?
Advice or tips? The number one tip always, if you are a B2B, actually, I'll give you two.
Awesome.
One for your long-term career, one for your job right now. Your job right now, the number one thing that you could do is take 2 weeks to a month and go and talk to as many customers, prospects, and influential people in the market as you can. It's the number one insight. It's the number one thing that no marketers do, where you understand what words your customers use, what language, how they think, who they listen to, where they get information, what products they like, what products they hate, what brands they like, how they feel about your brand, how they feel about your brand relative to competitors. Marketers get none of that information. All that information is what drives marketing. So in your current job, go and do that. Go and talk to customers. If you can build that skill, that is a competitive advantage, secret weapon in marketing forever, for the rest of time. On the other side, I would challenge marketers that maybe you don't have a big budget in your current company and you can't try out running TikTok ads or running Instagram ads or things like that. Or maybe you think that you want to be an entrepreneur at some point. The number one way to get better at marketing generally, whether it's advertising, organic content, creative, it doesn't matter, is to build something for yourself and try and figure out how to sell products, specifically commodity products. So figure out how to private label shoes or sandals or a beach towel or electronics or whatever, t-shirts. Figure out something like that. You have no brand, you have no presence, you have no organic flow, and then start doing marketing. Try to do SEO. Try to run Amazon ads. Try to run Instagram ads and see what drives sales. That's why I understand marketing differently than most other companies, is because I've done all those things at a company that has no demand and is getting $0 in revenue. And then when you do them, you realize, oh, like, yeah, we're getting 1 or 2 customers with SEO, but when I turn on Instagram ads, we get 10 customers a day. And then you go and look at a company that's $30 million in revenue, and the same stuff happens. They just don't see it.
Yeah. I bet.
So those are the 2 recommendations. Talk to customers and try and start a company with your own money. You advertise with your own money. You put stuff together. You try and drive actual sales using marketing.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're out of time, Chris, but you're awesome. And
it's been a blast.
Yes, this was awesome. A lot of good insights, and on to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I'm glad we could make this happen.
Yeah, same here.
See you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, don't forget to subscribe. You can also listen to our podcast on your favorite podcasting app.